With no festive special for Doctor Who this year, BBC decided to drop us a trailer 11 months ahead of the Doctor Who 60th anniversary specials, giving us a better look at what we'll see in those episodes. In this video, I'm going to break down a lot of the details that we see in this trailer and speculate as to what some of it could mean. So the trailer opens with a nighttime landscape of London, followed by the shot of the TARDIS materialising that we saw in the last trailer, which I believe was from the location shooting in Camden. This is followed by our first official look at Yasmine Finney's Rose, who is heavily speculated to be Donna and Shaun's daughter, and we'll be seeing more of her in the trailer later on. Over the top of all this, we hear Donna saying that she feels like she had something special that she doesn't remember.
Sometimes I think there's something missing, like I had something lovely. Gone.
Which confirms the fact that Donna's memory is still erased and she doesn't know who the Doctor is, at least at the start of these specials. And we see more of this later on in the trailer. As well as this, we get a couple of shots of what looks like an escape pod or ship, which I've previously speculated would be Beep the Meep ship. And with what we see later on in this trailer, I think it's safe to say that that is definitely the case. We see a few more shots of David Tennant's 14th Doctor, specifically a shot of him running through a hole in a brick wall. And I'm not entirely sure where this could be. Maybe it's the same place that we see the ship being built later on in the trailer. But we also see a shot of Donna and the 14th Doctor hugging, which likely suggests that this moment is taking place after Donna has remembered who the Doctor is and is somehow fine after remembering that. We also see the return of Donna's mother, Sylvia, but we don't see any Wilf in this trailer, which has led some people to worry that he might have been cut from the special. But Rachel Talalay has confirmed that this isn't the case. He is definitely in the special, and I have a theory as to why he might not have appeared in the trailer later on. We see the shot of the 14th Doctor exiting the TARDIS, which we've seen in the previous trailer, followed by some footage from what I believe to be the Bristol filming, with a lot of chaotic driving and chaotic people, as well as a lot of destruction and what could be some sort of crash site. We then see the same shot of Neil Patrick Harris's character from the last trailer, who is heavily speculated to be playing the classic villain, the Celestial Toymaker. As for what role Neil Patrick Harris's character could be playing in the specials, I personally like the theory from Poorly Aged Who on Twitter, who suggests that his character could be playing a godlike being who's also a controlling fan of the show. So he's changed the Doctor back into David Tennant and brought back Donna, so RTD can include some meta commentary about how we very easily cling to nostalgia. And I personally really like this theory because it gives RTD a reason for bringing back his characters for nostalgic purposes and having that as a meta part of the episodes themselves, instead of just bringing them back for nostalgic reasons. And it almost makes fun of the fans who only care about the show if David Tennant and Catherine Tate are in it, and who don't seem to care about the show actually moving forward and changing. They just want what they like and want to live in the past that they enjoyed. We also see a shot of what appears to be unit soldiers stumbling onto a spaceship that appears to be being built. Now my theory is that this ship is being built for Beep the Meep, who we see later on in this trailer, as the comic book story that this seems to be based on includes Beep the Meep using black star radiation to turn people into basically zombies that will work for them and help build their ship so they can escape from the Wrath Warriors. If you want to know more about who Beep the Meep is and what role they could be playing in this special, I've made a whole video about the character and their original comic book story, which you can watch here. We then get another look at Neil Patrick Harris's character, who seems to be putting on some sort of German or Austrian accent. I'm not sure if this is how they're going to speak throughout the whole special or if it's just a bit of an act. We then see some shots of Unit fighting off what appear to be the Wrath Warriors from that same Beep the Meep story, followed by our first official look at Beep the Meep in the trailer, talking to Yasmine Finney's Rose. Now I've previously made a video speculating about how I think Miriam Margolyes might be voicing Beep the Meep in these specials, which you can watch here, and in my opinion this voice in the trailer does sound like it could be her. Monsters. Next we see a shot of the toy shop Mr. Emporium, which is something we'd seen from location filming and a lot of people believe could be the base of operations for Neil Patrick Harris's Celestial Toymaker, if that is who he's playing, which would make sense as it does look like it's a toy shop. And over this we hear the Doctor talking about how Destiny is heading for Donna Noble.
I don't believe in destiny, but if destiny exists then it is heading for Donna Noble.
Which just helps explain better why she's showing up in this story when the Doctor happens to have David Tennant's face back again, as it does seem like quite a big coincidence, but this shows that there could be some sort of explanation around this. And we get the Doctor reiterating the fact that if Donna Noble remembers who he is and their adventures, she will die.
If she ever remembers me, she will die.
Which he'd previously mentioned in The End of Time.
If she ever remembers me, her mind will burn and she will die.
The trailer ends with a shot of Sylvia trying to protect Donna from seeing the Doctor so that she doesn't remember who he is, in quite a comedic sequence.
He's not there. You can't see him.
We also get a quick look at Ruth Madley's character, who people are speculating could be working for Unit or maybe even be the new head of Unit if Gemma Redgrave doesn't appear as Kate Stewart. And finally, the trailer ends with the same shot we'd seen before of Ncuti Gatwa as the 15th Doctor.
Someone tell me what the hell is going on here?
Now, since the last trailer, Russell T Davies has told us that that background is not the background that we'll see in the actual episode, and it's just a placeholder, as the real background would give something away. So it's possible that this background could be either the new TARDIS interior or or Gallifrey or some other location that we've seen before in the past. But like I said, this is the same shot that we've already seen of Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor, and we see no more new shots of him in this trailer. And I feel like that could be because he's not going to have that big of a role in these specials, and is likely going to only appear in probably the last of the 3. And so they don't want to show too much of him in fear of giving us basically all of his moments in the specials. And I think the same could be said for why we don't see Wilf in this trailer, as even if Bernard Cribbins did manage to film all of his scenes before he unfortunately passed away, I still think Wilf is going to have quite a minor role in these specials, possibly just being in one scene, because Bernard Cribbins was in his 90s anyway, so I can't imagine him having that big of a role in these specials. Now that's just everything we've seen from this trailer, and if you think I've missed anything, please let me know in the comments. But if you want to know even more about the 60th anniversary specials, I've made a whole video about everything we know about those, which you can watch here, and I'm going to do the same for everything we know about Series 14 very soon, so if you don't want to miss that, subscribe and turn on notifications. Over the past week, a teaser trailer for the Doctor Who 60th anniversary specials has been seen interrupting one of the BBC idents. This teaser seems to hint about the plot of the 60th anniversary specials, specifically one of the episodes, and it also seems to hint at when we might be seeing the next full trailer. So I've seen a lot of theories going around about this trailer. Some of it I agree with and some of it I disagree with. And personally, I think I've been able to figure out what the plot of at least the first special of the 60th anniversary celebrations will be about. Now, this isn't because I think I'm better than anybody else. I just happen to have made a video about the Beep the Meep comic about a year ago, and so I know quite a few details from that. And along with this teaser trailer and the other trailer that we got at Christmas, I've been able to put a few pieces together. So one of the first things we see in this trailer is some binary code.
Binary, 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 binary. I'm fine.
Which has been decoded to spell out the Star Beast. Now this is a title of a Doctor Who comic that appeared in Doctor Who Weekly in 1980, featuring Beep the Meep. The basic premise of this comic is that Beep the Meep crashes on Earth while being pursued by Wrath Warriors, and turns locals into zombie drones using their Black Star drive from their ship to help repair their ship and escape the pursuing Wrath Warriors. Now the Meeps, although they look like innocent creatures, are actually a savage race of aliens, as they have been corrupted by Black Star radiation. So don't trust Beep the Meep, as cute as he does look in that trailer. Now one of the first things we see in this teaser trailer is what looks like a time vortex, and a lot of people have speculated that this might be the new time vortex for the title sequence and that we see the TARDIS flying through. But I personally don't think this is the case, or it has the possibility of being something different, which I'm going to get into later in this video. So one of the next and most important parts of this teaser trailer is the shot of a unit soldier with glowing eyes, which I've seen a lot of people suggest could be the continuation of Harmony Shoal infiltrating UNIT from The Return of Dr. Mysterio, or even a Wrath Warrior in disguise. But once again, I personally don't think this is the case, as I think this actually relates to something from the original Star Beast comic. In the previous trailer, we see a shot of some unit soldiers seemingly stumbling on Beep the Meep's ship in some sort of construction yard. So I think this unit soldier that we see in this new trailer is likely to be one of those unit soldiers that gets possessed by Beep the Meep's Black Star drive in their ship, and Beep the Meep will use them along with maybe some other civilians to help repair their ship so they can escape the Wrath Warriors. And because of this, I think the time vortex looking thing that we see earlier on in the trailer is likely to be either the Black Sun or Beep the Meep's Black Star drive from their ship, which is what's being used to possess these unit soldiers. I personally think the first episode of the 60th anniversary specials is going to be a fairly faithful adaptation of the original Star Beast comic. So for special 1 of the 60th anniversary specials, I think the plot is going to go something along the lines of this, and obviously potential spoilers for if this does end up being correct. I think it's going to open with Beep the Meep's ship crashing on Earth and being found by Rose Temple Noble and her friends, with Beep the Meep being pursued by the Wrath Warriors. Because of this, Beep the Meep is going to use their Black Star drive to turn some unit soldiers and possibly other civilians into zombie drones to help them repair their ship and escape the pursuing Wrath Warriors. Now we also get a few other shots in this teaser trailer, one being of the 14th Doctor, where we also hear them saying cryptic, "I hate that."
Cryptic, I hate that.
Which I'm not necessarily sure what that relates to. Another of Donna, which we've seen before, but she also says, "Why did this face come back?"
Why did this face come back?
which is obviously relating to the 14th Doctor having the same face as the 10th Doctor. But we also get some other footage that we've seen before. One of those being the Doctor's hand from Journey's End, where the Metacrisis Doctor is born, and another of the TARDIS windows from Planet of the Dead. Now, I personally don't think the Planet of the Dead is going to have anything to do with this episode. I think both of these shots have just been used as we're probably going to see some sort of flashback sequence where we see the moment where Donna has her mind wiped. And I think it's possible they just used that shot from Planet of the Dead because they needed a shot of the 10th Doctor's TARDIS for possibly that sequence, or maybe even just for this trailer. Now, one of the final things that's been seen from this teaser trailer. Okay, so whilst editing this video, there's been a second ident teaser trailer for the 60th anniversary specials, most of which is redacted, besides a shot of the Doctor and Donna in the same ship that I previously speculated is Beep the Meep ship, falling to the floor whilst reacting to something. Now, some people have speculated that this is them watching somebody regenerate, which I think it absolutely possibly could be. I mean, we know Shooty's got to be in there somehow, and people have also speculated that Susan could be in this episode. But for me personally, I think it's a lot more simple of an answer, and it's just them reacting to some sort of explosion. And we also hear more dialogue in this trailer, with the 14th Doctor saying she mentioned Gallifrey.
She mentioned Gallifrey.
Which again is possible that this could be like another reference to Susan or something like that. But for me personally, I think it's just the Doctor talking to either Wilf or Sylvia about Donna and her memories coming back. Now, as I stated, most of this trailer has a big redacted label on it, so you can't actually see the footage. And so I thought that they were probably trying to hide some big reveal for when the full trailer comes out, which some people had speculated would maybe be Matt Smith or something like that, or maybe even Susan. But some people on Twitter that are cleverer than me have figured out what these shots actually are, and they're just more shots from Journey's End for what I'm presuming is going to be a flashback sequence. One being the 10th Doctor, and the other being Donna flicking the switch that makes the Daleks start spinning around on the ship. So not really something as exciting as I would have hoped it would be, but we might still get some big reveals in the full trailer anyway. Is some text that says EV1305, which some people have figured out is hinting at the Eurovision final, which takes place on the 13th of May. Also, it's worth mentioning in the new trailer that we also see some text that, when spelled backwards, reads Eurovision 1305 2023, which is just even further confirmation that that is when this full trailer is going to be releasing. And some people are speculating that this means a new full-length trailer for the 60th anniversary specials is going to premiere at some point during the Eurovision finale. Now, of course, I'm going to do a breakdown of that trailer when that comes out, so subscribe to this channel if you don't want to miss that. Although I am leaving the country a couple days after that trailer is meant to air, so that video might be a little bit late, so make sure you have notifications on so you don't miss it. And if for some reason you're watching this video after that video's already come out, I'll have it linked here. As predicted, we got a trailer for the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who just before the Eurovision final. In this video, I'm going to break down everything we see in that trailer, including the title, and talking about some theories myself and other people have had about this trailer. So like I said, we got the trailer that we predicted at the start of the Eurovision final, and it wasn't the full-length trailer that we were expecting, but I'll get into when we might be seeing that later on in this video. Instead, we got a titles teaser showing us the 3 titles of the 3 specials coming out November this year, and some shots for each corresponding story. Now, as I mentioned at the end of the ident teaser breakdown, I have been a bit late to this breakdown because I was out of the country for a week, but this is actually a benefit because it's allowed me to put a few theories together, both from what I've seen on Twitter and stuff, as well as stuff that I've just figured out in my own head that I think makes a lot of sense, which I will be getting into as I go through this breakdown. So the first section of this teaser is the special one, which is titled The Star Beast, which I predicted a while ago. And as I've also predicted, it does seem to be a fairly faithful adaptation of the original comic book story, with a few changes to fit with it obviously being the 14th Doctor and having Donna in it, and being part of these wider 60th anniversary specials. The trailer starts with the 14th Doctor walking around Camden Market, which is the first bit of filming we ever saw, along with Donna's line that we previously heard in the ident teaser.
Why did this face come back? To say goodbye.
We see a shot of Donna with some boxes being removed that reveal her face, and some on-set filming reports from last year suggest that this could be the first time the 14th Doctor and Donna meet in this story. We then see a shot of the Doctor and Rose possibly meeting for the first time as a ship crashes above them. Now, a lot of people have started to suggest that they think this is actually the Wrath Warriors ship and not Beep the Meep ship, as we've seen another little ship in previous trailers that some think is Beep the Meep ship. But for me personally, I still definitely think this big ship is Beep the Meep ship. as it looks nearly identical to the comic depiction of Beep the Meep's ship, which we've had a better look at in the Christmas Day trailer. But obviously we have also seen the little escape pod in previous trailers as well. So what I think's happening here is this is Beep the Meep's ship being shot at, or has already been shot at, by the Wrath Warrior's ship, which we don't actually see yet, and that Beep the Meep escapes in his escape pod as it's being shot at and lets the ship crash. And Beep the Meep will spend pretty much the rest of the story hypnotizing unit soldiers with their Black Star drive to help them repair their ship, which I've spoken about in the previous video. Now, speaking of Beep the Meep, we do see him at the end of the trailer amongst some toys, which is a clear reference to a shot from E.T. Now, some have speculated that this location is the Celestial Toymaker's toy shop, which it absolutely could be, but I personally think this is more likely to be either Rose's room or the Temple Noble's garage, as I'm pretty sure Rose and her friends will find Beep the Meep's crashed escape pod, and Rose will take Beep the Meep in, possibly in that box that we've seen her carry in previous trailers, and will try to look after Beep the Meep, as obviously he does look quite cute, but for those who know the character, he can't actually be trusted. We then get onto the second and most secretive special, that being Special 2, which is titled Wild Blue Yonder, which seems to be a reference to the song Off We Go Into the Wild Blue Yonder. And Russell T Davies has previously stated that the title of this episode was 8 words long, which that title would be. And in the newest edition of Doctor Who magazine, Russell has stated that somebody names the title Wide Blue Yonder and says that it comes from the military going to war, and that the Doctor corrects them saying it's an Air Force song and the words are Wild Blue Yonder. He has also hinted that the original title of this story was a 5-word long title, which would have given the whole episode away, and I've seen some people speculate that this title could have been It's Bigger on the Inside, which would obviously insinuate that this episode would all take place inside the TARDIS, which some people have previously speculated. But if this episode isn't set in the TARDIS, I still think it's very likely that we're going to get some sort of bottle episode that takes place on a spaceship of some kind. Now, the shots we actually get for this episode give pretty much nothing away, besides the fact that, like I said, they do seem to be on a ship of some kind. So they are clearly trying to hide something from us for this episode, which I think is good because we already know basically everything from the Star Beast episode. But I think that's most likely because that episode is not really about the plot, it's more about the characters and the Doctor and Donna reuniting and meeting those characters again for the first time in years. Now, because we don't see much about this episode, I do think this episode is the most likely to feature some cameos, possibly from Susan or Mel, who have been speculated to be in these specials. This also could be the episode where we see Shooty for the first time, as opposed to him being at the end of the final special. And some people have also speculated that in this episode, the Doctor could be regenerating into previous incarnations, dimensions in time style, and this could be where we see Matt Smith, which a lot of people have speculated could be in this episode. And this could be backed up by the fact that David Tennant has said that they've filmed a lot of stuff on set with a lot of other people that we haven't seen yet. So I would be very surprised if that isn't relating to this episode. Now, the final section of this trailer is for Special 3, which is titled The Giggle, which is a title I've seen a lot of people complaining about, especially considering this is probably a regeneration story. But I personally don't really mind this title, and at the end of the day, it is just a title, so it doesn't really matter. But I can see why some people are a little bit annoyed at this title. Now, the first thing we see is a lot of the chaos that we've seen from the Bristol filming, with the 14th Doctor and Neil Patrick Harris, who is presumed to be the Celestial Toymaker. One of these shots is of a guy on a police bike, who I've seen a lot of people speculating about, but I personally don't think he's that important. I think he's just a part of the general chaos and probably just some guy who's stolen a police bike, although I don't really know why he has a feather on his head, so maybe he is more important than I think. And we also get a better shot of who we suspect to be the Celestial Toymaker dancing with the 14th Doctor, which we had seen during filming. Now, although he's not been officially announced to be in the specials, we have seen that Bernard Cribbins has been filming for the specials, and he can sort of be seen in this trailer during this chaos, as you can see the top of his hat with Donna pushing him in a wheelchair, which he was seen in during the filming. And finally, we get a look at what seems to be the unit base, and this could be a set that's been built for that spin-off that we're first seeing in these specials. And some people have speculated that this base could be in the Shard, as we do get an aerial shot of the Shard in the Christmas Day trailer. We also see the Doctor seemingly using his new sonic screwdriver on one of the screens, which we've had a closer look at during filming, but still not got a proper look at it yet. On these screens, we also see a familiar logo, that being the AMNN logo, which is a news network that we'd seen quite a lot during the first RTD era and not really seen since, which has led some people to believe that we might be seeing the return of Trinity Wells, who was an American news anchor that we saw quite frequently during RTD's first era. She's basically our equivalent of Star Wars' Glup Shitto. Like, we're all going to be going crazy when she shows up, but anyone who's not a fan is just going to be like, why are you going crazy over just some news broadcaster? Now, the final thing we see on these screens in the unit base is this creepy looking puppet, which some clever people have pointed out looks a lot like Stooky Bill, who was used for some early television broadcast tests by Scottish inventor John Logie Baird in 1925, which is a date we've seen on posters during Bristol filming. So this has led some people to believe that the stuff set during that era will be about this Scottish inventor and the creation of broadcast television. And I think it's possible that the Celestial Toymaker, or whoever Neil Patrick Harris is playing, has gone back in time and planted the giggle during this television broadcast that gets inside everybody's head and is able to turn them crazy. Now, something really interesting that I found out is that John Logie Baird actually appears in one of RTD's most recent miniseries, that being Nolly, where he is played by an actor called John McKay and was also cast by current Doctor Who casting director Andy Pryor. So I think it's absolutely possible that he could reprise the role of John Logie Baird for this Doctor Who special. Now, like I said earlier, this isn't the full-length trailer that we were expecting, but Russell T Davies has hinted at Comic-Con in Doctor Who magazine, so I think it's likely that we're going to get the full-length trailer during this year's San Diego Comic-Con, which I personally think is probably the best time to release a trailer like that anyway. But that's everything I caught in this teaser trailer. If I missed anything, please let me know in the comments. And I'm going to be making an everything we know for each one of these specials, as well as an everything we know for all of the 2023 specials, including the Christmas special. So if you don't want to miss that, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. But until then, you might enjoy this video here. This year we'll be getting 4 specials for Doctor Who to kick off RTD2, 3 60th anniversary specials and 1 Christmas special. But what do we actually know about these specials? On the 24th of September 2021, Russell T Davies was announced to be returning to Doctor Who as the showrunner to celebrate the 60th anniversary and series beyond. On the 8th of May 2022, Ncuti Gatwa was announced to be playing the next Doctor, who we now know is the 15th Doctor. And a week later, on May 15th, it was announced that David Tennant and Catherine Tate would be returning for the 60th anniversary specials. And so, like I said in the intro, we know that there are going to be 3 60th anniversary specials, which are likely to take place in November this year, and there will be a Christmas special, although it hasn't been confirmed that it will definitely be on Christmas Day, which will be Ncuti Gatwa's first full episode as the 15th Doctor. And we also know that Doctor Who will be streaming on Disney+, although I personally think that could just be for Series 14. We haven't really had any confirmation that the 60th anniversary specials will be streaming on there, but it is possible. Now, there have been a few other official announcements, but I'll get to those when I talk about the episodes themselves in more depth. In terms of the teaser trailers we've got for the 60th anniversary specials, there was a short teaser trailer at the end of The Power of the Doctor, we got a Christmas Day trailer in absence of a Christmas special, and we got some ident glitch teasers along with a titles teaser trailer not that long ago. But what do we actually know about the episodes themselves? On the 14th of February 1980, the first part of Doctor Who and the Star Beast, written by Pat Mills and John Wagner, was published in the pages of Doctor Who Weekly and ran up until the 3rd of April that same year. This 4th Doctor comic book story began with Beep the Meep crashing his ship as he was pursued by Wrath Warriors, where he is then found by schoolchildren Sharon and Fudge. The Doctor follows the flames of the Neutron Drive Star Cruiser and investigates, unaware that he is leading the Wrath Warriors directly to Beep the Meep. After he has sent Beep the Meep with Sharon for safety, the Doctor learns from the Wrath Warriors that Beep the Meep is being hunted by them for unspeakable crimes. Taking the Wrath Warriors with him, the Doctor finds Sharon and the locals have been turned into zombie drones by the radiation of the Black Star Drive, and Beep the Meep has made them work to repair the ship for a star jump from Earth. The Doctor, along with Black Castle and the workers, are caught in the star jump. The story ends with the Doctor returning the workers to Earth in the TARDIS, and the Wrath Warriors capturing Beep the Meep. But what does this obscure Doctor Who comic book story have to do with the 60th anniversary specials? Okay, so the reason this comic book story is so significant to this episode, this first special of the 60th anniversary specials, is that from the most recent titles teaser trailer that we've got, we know that this special is going to be called The Star Beast, which obviously is the same name as that comic book story. And from this title and some of the footage that we've seen in this trailer and previous trailers, I think it's safe to assume that this episode is going to be a fairly faithful adaptation of that original comic book story, obviously just with different characters and a few minor tweaks, which is something that I'm going to get into a little bit later on in this video. Now, obviously, we still think that all of these episodes for the 60th anniversary specials are going to be written by Russell T Davies, which is a little bit different to previous adaptations where Russell's got the original writer to adapt their original story into an episode of Doctor Who, and they have writing credit on that episode. But I think the original writers, that being Pat Mills and John Wagner, are more likely to still be credited in the end credits, just not for the episode itself. And this can be further backed up by the fact that David Tennant has recently said that the original writers characters of the comic book story were on set and came to visit the set to see what it looked like. Now, speaking of being on set, the first bit of public filming we ever saw, which was in Camden Market with David Tennant and Catherine Tate, appears to be for this episode. And we also know from this filming and from official announcements in Doctor Who magazine that Rachel Talalay will be directing this episode, and she's known for directing a lot of the significant Peter Capaldi era episodes, and honestly some of the best looking ones, so that's really exciting to see her returning to direct one of the episodes of these specials. But from this public filming, we also know that not only David Tennant and Catherine Tate will be returning, but we'll also be seeing the return of Sylvia Noble, played by Jacqueline King, Sean Temple, played by Carl Collins, and Wilfred Mott, played by Bernard Cribbins, in what's probably going to be his last role. Now, most of these can be seen in the trailers as well, besides Bernard Cribbins as Wilfred Mott, although you can sort of see him in the titles teaser, as you can see the top of his hat. But there's also some more casting that we need to talk about for probably this episode, but at least the specials in general. The first of which being Yasmine Finney's Rose, who is definitely going to be in this episode, and she's been speculated to be playing Donna and Shaun's daughter, so she's going to be Rose Temple Noble. We also know that Ruth Madley will be playing a role as Shirley Ann Bingham, and she's likely to appear in this episode as she appears to be connected to UNIT in some way. Speaking of UNIT, we also know of a couple other UNIT members that have been cast. The first of which is Major Singh, who's played by Renak Patani, who can be seen in the trailers fighting the Wrath Warriors on what is assumed to be the street that Donna's house is on. And we also know of another UNIT character called Colonel Chan, who is played by Jamie Hayden, sometimes known as Jamie Cho, and he's the UNIT character that can be seen in the ident teasers with the glowing eyes, who I've previously speculated is being hypnotized by Beep the Meep's Black Star Drive to help repair Beep the Meep's ship. And the final bit of casting that I feel the need to talk about is that it's rumored that Miriam Margolyes will be voicing Beep the Meep in this special, which I've previously talked about in another video. But basically, Beep the Meep's costume has been spotted on set for one of the public filmings before that character was even seen in the trailers, and it has also been mentioned that a guest actor was recording some ADR, so some people have speculated that is Miriam Margolyes doing Beep the Meep's voice. And if you hear Beep the Meep in the couple of shots that we've seen of him in the trailers, it does sound very similar to Miriam Margolyes' voice. Based on everything we know and the original comic book storyline, this is how I think the plot of the Star Beast is going to go. After the 14th Doctor lands in Camden Market, he meets Rose and probably bumps into Donna too. They both watch Beep the Meep's ship crash, with Beep the Meep escaping in his escape pod. He is then at some point found by Rose and her friends, with Rose bringing Beep the Meep to her home to look after him. At some point, the Wrath Warriors will discover Beep the Meep's location, where UNIT will fight with the Wrath Warriors, giving Beep the Meep a chance to escape. He will then likely return to his crashed ship and turn UNIT soldiers into zombie drones using his Black Star Drive, forcing them to help repair his ship. Whilst this is happening, the Doctor will likely learn from the Wrath Warriors that Beep the Meep is actually evil, and somehow he will stop Beep the Meep, probably by allowing the Wrath Warriors to arrest him. Okay, so you might have seen that I haven't done a specific video related to Wild Blue Yonder yet, and that's because we honestly don't know that much about this special. It's the most secretive special out of all of them that we've got, and there's only been a couple of shots that we've actually seen from this episode. But what we do know is David Tennant and Catherine Tate will likely be the two main characters of this episode, as they have been seen in basically all the shots we've seen so far. We know that it's probably going to be written by Russell T Davies, as chances are he's writing all of these episodes. We know that it's going to be directed by Tom Kingsley, who is the director for Ghosts and Staff Lets Flats, which are some shows that I've seen all of, and I love those shows, so I'm very excited about that. But I also think that Bernard Cribbins as Wilf will also make a bit of an appearance in this episode, probably at some point in the start or the end before they actually go off on this adventure, as I'm pretty sure when we'd seen Tom Kingsley on location doing some directing, it was some scenes that had Wilf in them, but I might be wrong. But I'm pretty sure you can see him there in his pink rock t-shirt.
What's his rock? It's like Nike, yeah, but instead, yeah, it's rock.
Now, with the few shots that we've actually seen of this trailer, they've all featured Catherine Tate and David Tennant as the 14th Doctor and Donna Noble, and in all of these shots they always seem to be on some kind of ship, which some people have speculated might be the TARDIS, which I'll get into a little bit later on. We see a shot in the ident teasers of what seems to be Donna and the Doctor reacting to either some sort of explosion, or some people have even speculated some sort of regeneration, and we also see the Doctor saying sorry to Donna.
I'm sorry, Donna.
So some people have speculated that this episode could be maybe the episode where she gets her memories back, and that maybe she doesn't fully have her memories back in the first episode, The Star Beast. Now, Russell T Davies has teased in Doctor Who magazine that there were some alternate titles to this episode, the first being a 5-word title that Russell said would have given the whole episode away, so they had to change it. And some people have speculated that this title could be It's Bigger on the Inside, which once again would hint at the fact that this episode all takes place on the TARDIS. The other alternative title that he had teased was an 8-word title that some people have speculated would have been Off We Go into the Wild Blue Yonder, so just basically an extended version of the title we already had. And this is a reference to the US Air Force song of the same name. In 1925, Scottish inventor John Logie Baird was experimenting with inventing a broadcast television system. Baird's first system was not able to televise human faces due to inadequate contrast, and the incandescent lights generated so much heat Baird could not use a human subject, so he chose to use a puppet which he named Stooky Bill. Eventually, Stooky Bill's hair became singed and the painted face became cracked. On the 26th of January 1926, John Logie Baird demonstrated the first live working television broadcast. Before I get on to what the story of John Logie Baird has to do with the Doctor Who 60th anniversary specials, I first want to talk about some of the official announcements we have for the last episode of these specials, The Giggle. So one of the first big announcements we had specifically related to this episode is that Neil Patrick Harris will be playing a character in the Doctor Who 60th anniversary specials, who is heavily speculated to be playing classic Doctor Who villain, the Celestial Toymaker, due to some iconography on set, such as circus posters and a toy shop called Mr. Emporium, as well as a laugh in one of the teaser trailers that some people have said sounds like Michael Gough's Celestial Toymaker laugh from the classic serial. Now, Neil Patrick Harris has been spotted on set filming with David Tennant and Catherine Tate, as well as Bernard Cribbins, who plays Wilf, whose hat can be seen in the trailer during one of these sequences. As mentioned, we see the Mr. Emporium toy shop in one of the trailers, and Russell T Davies has said that the character that we see in this shot is a big actor who has not been revealed to us yet, and some people have speculated that this could be Adam Scott of Parks and Recreation, as somebody who looks strikingly similar to him has also been spotted on set. And for me personally, I really hope this is true. It does look a lot like him, and I've just finished watching Parks and Recreation recently, and I think he's really good in that.
Baba boy.
So I think it'll be a great get if he is in these episodes. It's also worth mentioning that the director for this episode is Chanya Button, who is a newcomer to Doctor Who, so I'm excited to see what her directing will be like. Now, on set, we also saw some posters that have some dates set in late 1925, and some of the set was also dressed to look like the 20s, which is where we saw the character that is supposedly played by Adam Scott, or another big actor. Now, this sort of leads us into John Logie Baird, who obviously was around during the 1920s, so it is heavily speculated that John Logie Baird will be a character in this episode and will likely be seen during those 1920s sequences. Now, this can be further backed up, as one of the codes in those glitch ident trailers we got a while ago has the phrase Brooding Elijah, which is an anagram for John Logie Baird, and I've previously speculated that I think I might know who will be playing this character in the 60th anniversary specials, as John Logie Baird showed up in Russell T Davies' recent miniseries Nolly, played by actor John McKay, and he was also cast by Andy Pryor, who is the casting director for Doctor Who. Now, further evidence to back up that this story will be relevant to the Doctor Who 60th anniversary specials, and particularly this episode, is that a puppet can be seen on screen in the titles teaser trailer in what is assumed to be the new unit base that bears a striking resemblance to the Stooky Bill puppet which I mentioned in that opening story. In this scene, we can also see the Doctor using what appears to be his new sonic screwdriver, although we don't get a great look at it, and we still haven't had a good look at it yet. And we also see the AMNN logo, which has led some people to believe that Trinity Wells will be making a reappearance in this era. And for those of you who don't know, she was an American news broadcaster who appeared frequently in the first RTD era. As for what I think the plot for this episode could be, I assume the Doctor and Donna will return from whatever adventure they are on in the previous episode, Wild Blue Yonder, to find London in absolute chaos, which we see in the trailer. And in the midst of all this chaos, they will find Neil Patrick Harris's character, who, as I said, is speculated to be playing the Celestial Toymaker. At some point, UNIT will get involved, and the Doctor and Donna will help them, possibly by going back to the 1920s to stop the Celestial Toymaker from planting a giggle in everyone's head via John Logie Baird's first television broadcast in 1926. Now, obviously, at some point in the episode, the Doctor is likely to regenerate into Ncuti Gatwa's 15th Doctor, but I honestly, at this point, don't really know how that's going to happen and what's going to be the cause of it. So if you have any suggestions for what you think that might be, let me know in the comments. Okay, that's everything we know so far about the 60th anniversary specials, but we also have a little bit of information on the 2023 Christmas special, that being Ncuti Gatwa's first full episode as the 15th Doctor, as we've seen some filming photos and there's also been some other official announcements that relate to this episode. The first thing we saw from this Christmas special was some filming in a graveyard that I believe was in Cardiff or somewhere in Wales, where we'd seen the 15th Doctor in a new costume, which is honestly just his best costume we've seen so far. We've also seen some filming in Bristol, which is likely doubling as London, where we'd seen filming with Anita Dobson, who is a character called either Mrs. Flood or Mrs. Blood. She's told us both of those names in separate interviews, so I have no idea which one is the real one, and she's meant to be playing Ruby's next door neighbour, but some people have speculated, I think mostly due to the name, that she's going to be some sort of villain or secret villain in either that episode or maybe even Series 14's whole arc. We also know that Michelle Greenidge is playing a character in this episode, and some people have speculated that she might be Ruby's mum or foster mum or something along those lines. Speaking of Ruby Sunday, we also got a look at Millie Gibson filming the scene where Ruby first enters the TARDIS during this Bristol filming, and not long after, Ncuti also came back to this location to do some filming, where we might have had a look at him using the sonic screwdriver for the first time, although we can't get a good look at the device itself, so this isn't really confirmed. We also now know that filming at the Golden Cross pub in Cardiff is for this Christmas special, and that's where we got this new look at the 15th Doctor in his official announcement costume, but this time wearing a hat. Okay, so far that's everything we know about the 2023 Doctor Who specials. If you want to know more about Ncuti Gatwa's 15th Doctor and that official look we got at his costume, I've made a whole video about that Rolling Stone interview that he gave, specifically relating to the quotes where he talks about Doctor Who, and you can watch that here. But also stay subscribed to the channel, as I'll soon be making a video very similar to this about everything we know about Doctor Who Series 14. Okay, so I recently asked you guys how you think the 14th Doctor is going to regenerate into Ncuti Gatwa's 15th Doctor at the end of the 2023 specials, and you guys left some of your theories about that among some other things, and also, we have a new Sonic. Okay, so last week I dropped my compilation video of everything we know about the 2023 specials. If you haven't watched that yet, I'll have it linked in a card. I ended up dropping it a little bit early in anticipation for some news or possibly a trailer coming out at the weekend following San Diego Comic-Con, but I ended up not really needing to do that because we didn't get any of that. So I could have really just dropped it at the normal time that I would have dropped it, and I also accidentally premiered it about 5 hours earlier than I was meant to. But I also had to quickly re-edit that video before it went live, as in the video I mentioned that we hadn't had a proper look at the sonic screwdriver yet, and whilst that video was uploaded and scheduled to go out, we finally got an official look at the brand new sonic screwdriver, and we were also able to order the brand new toy of that sonic screwdriver, which I have right now. I literally got it today, so I've not had much time with it, but overall I think it looks really good. For some reason before I got it I was unsure about the chrome finish and how good it would look, but now that I've got it in my hand I think it looks great. Sounds great, all the features in it are really good, there's more features than I would have expected, and I'm overall just really happy with it. Although it did take a lot of work getting it here, and it was basically like a few days late. It took basically a whole week to get here, so I got this a couple hours ago. Yeah, like I said, it's really good. I'm really happy with it. In terms of the prop itself, I do feel like the little arms that come out here are a little bit awkward because of how low down they are, but I do have a theory for that. I personally think, from what we can see in a leaked set video with the Sonic, it looks like there's a possibility that there might be a holographic hood on this Sonic, and if that is the case, I assume that's what these little prongs are for, because they also on the actual prop have some lights on the end of these prongs, so I think that they might be for a holographic hood, which I think would be interesting to see. It's a bit different from how all the other Sonics works. We don't normally have that, but you know, it's a big change that I think would be interesting to see, but that's personally what I think this is for. But like I said, overall I'm really happy with this. It's pretty good. Okay, so now to get into some of your theories about the 2023 60th anniversary specials. Most of these theories are related to episode 3, the Giggle, and particularly the regeneration from the 14th Doctor to the 15th Doctor. But I'm very impressed with a lot of these theories, and a lot of them are quite long and very well thought out, so I thought I'd give them a read in a dedicated video. So let's just get into it. So this first theory is from the Outcast Boy. From filming, we saw Wilf in scenes from episode 2, so it seems like they'll return to Earth and find it in chaos, and then pick up Wilf, perhaps meeting the rest of Donna's family on the way. So I think when I went over my theory on what the plot of episode 3 was going to be, it was quite similar to this, that after whatever adventure they get up to in Wild Blue Yonder was done, the Doctor and Donna would return to Earth and find it in absolute chaos. But yeah, what I think the Outcast Boy is suggesting here is that would actually be the cliffhanger to episode 2, which makes a lot of sense, and that they would pick up Wilf, and that makes a lot of sense because we did see that Bernard Cribbins was filming for that scene where Neil Patrick Harris was involved, where there's a lot of chaos going around, that they were filming in Bristol, and you can even see that in the trailer, as obviously you can see the top of his hat in those scenes, so this would make a lot of sense. They go on to say, I suspect the regeneration will be less of a traditional regeneration, nor will the circumstances around it. We've seen Gatwa in the trailer, which indicates he's got more of an involvement than just a post-regeneration scene. Indeed, the idea he's not just in it for a moment is quite credible, since he seemingly interacts with Tennant, Tate, and Yasmine Finney based on various quotes the relevant actors and Gatwa himself have given in interviews. So yeah, this is true. I'm pretty sure recently Yasmine Finney has said that she shares some scenes with Ncuti Gatwa, which obviously indicates that he's not just going to have an incredibly minor role, such as a post-regeneration shot in these specials, and he might appear in more than just the last episode. Obviously, we don't know much about Wild Blue Yonder, so it is entirely possible he might make some appearances in that, or maybe even all 3 specials. But at the very least, even if he does just appear in the final special, he's going to have a much bigger role than you would initially think. Obviously, we know he has at least one line in these specials.
Someone tell me what the hell is going on here?
But I do agree that I think there is going to be a lot more to it than that. Given the whole face thing and questions being raised by both RTD and Donna herself in the trailer, why did this face come back? It seems like this regeneration might not have been a natural occurrence. Indeed, Donna's memories being able to come back without her dying, and likely the rest of the events of these specials were probably orchestrated. One of RTD's initial hints was, then again, maybe, just maybe, this return is so impossible that it's actually an intricate illusion created by an old enemy of the Doctor's. If Neil Patrick Harris is indeed playing the Toymaker and is the final villain of these specials, an interesting connection forms, as during the development of the original Toymaker serial, they planned to replace Hartnell by having the Toymaker change him into another person with his powers. Obviously, that didn't come to pass, but given the nature of the anniversary and the choice of the Toymaker, who only appeared in that story on TV, tying the events to that obscure bit of Doctor Who history would make sense, especially since these specials seem to be focused on more obscure elements, such as the Star Beast comic. So yeah, this makes a lot of sense. Like they say, if the Toymaker is the final villain, and a big part of these specials is the Doctor having their old face back, it would make a lot of sense that the Toymaker is somehow behind this, and that this isn't just a normal regeneration and a natural occurrence, and that somehow the Toymaker has been messing with this. And yeah, I didn't really know that about the first Doctor's regeneration, that was the original plan. So if that is the case, this would be a nice little hint to that, as it's basically the same thing, but this time it might actually happen. Also, having Tennant be a subversion explains the whole costume change thing too. I know it happened with 1 to 2, but those costumes were far closer. It was made in black and white for a small low quality screen, and it was thought it'd be only seen once at that time, unlike modern TV. RTD could easily end up explaining that quirk in the process of the reveal that the Toymaker put the Doctor in his current form. So yeah, obviously we do know now that the reason the 14th Doctor isn't in the 13th Doctor's clothes was kind of just because RTD didn't want David Tennant in them, but that doesn't mean it isn't possible that they won't try and explain it in canon in the show, and the Toymaker being responsible for this would be a good way of doing that. So I think that absolutely is a possibility. So then I suspect Gatwa's Doctor was who 13 was supposed to regenerate into, but is stuck in the Celestial Toymaker's realm, unable to exist in the real world unless the Doctor, who's essentially just back to their 10th incarnation, decides to give up his existence, and doing this somehow defeats the Toymaker in the process. With the whole I don't want to go stuff that incarnation had going on, I suspect that takes some coaxing, but ultimately the Doctor does the right thing, and the Toymaker's defeat allows the regeneration to correct itself. Yeah, so I really like this idea that Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor is who 13 was supposed to regenerate into, and that he might be stuck in the Celestial Toymaker's realm, because that would also explain why we see a lot more of Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor in these specials than you would initially think, as we might occasionally cut back to him in the Toymaker's realm, and that could be where we see him in the trailer, because as we've been told, that background that he's in is not actually what it's going to look like in the show, and it's been edited in a way to look like that, as they don't want to give anything away. So maybe that is like the Toymaker's realm, or even possibly the Edge or something like that he's going to be trapped in throughout the specials, and we'll keep cutting back to him and seeing him in there. And yeah, in terms of the whole I don't want to go stuff, I'm going to get onto that in a later comment later on in this video. It makes me so happy to see the Meep on screen. When I first saw leaked set pictures, I thought it was a joke. I loved that story as a kid, but never thought we'd see it on screen. I wonder if this is a Family of Blood style retelling or a sequel to the comic. Either way, I'm excited. Hopefully Frobisher is next. Yeah, I think it's great to see Beep the Meep on screen. I personally don't know a whole lot about the character. I knew they existed posters before they were announced to be in this special, but I don't know I didn't know a whole lot about them. But it is really exciting to see a character like this on screen, as they are the kind of character you wouldn't expect to see brought to the TV show proper. In terms of how this adaptation is going to be, or if it's going to be like a sequel, I do personally think this does seem like it is meant to be more of an adaptation than a sequel. As I've spoken about in previous videos, it seems like it's going to be following the story very closely, but obviously there are a few tweaks being made with which Doctor it is and which companions are going to be taking part in the story and stuff like that. But besides that, it does seem like it is going to be a fairly faithful adaptation, so I do think this is more of an adaptation than a sequel, unless once again the Toymaker has something to do with this and was just a big fan of the adventure that happened in the past or something like that. But yeah, Frobisher, I've seen a lot of people talking about Frobisher and how they want Frobisher to appear on screen. I know of Frobisher, but I haven't actually like read any of the comics that he's in or listened to any of the audios that he's in or anything like that, so I don't know too much about him. But I do know a lot of people have been speculating that he actually might appear in Wild Blue Yonder due to some comments that Russell T Davies has been putting on Instagram recently with penguin emojis, which I don't know, it could mean that he's coming, but if not, it would be great to see him in the future, and obviously Beep the Meep appearing in this special is going to make that a lot easier. I think either 14 will regenerate because A, once the Toymaker is defeated, 14 just regenerates automatically because 15 was the correct path all along and 14 only happened because of the Toymaker, or B, the Toymaker is what's letting Donna remember without dying. Once the Toymaker is defeated, however, Donna starts to die. 14 gives up regeneration energy to save her life. Donna's mind is a Time Lord, so this could work. However, this results in him regenerating in the process. Yeah, I have seen this going around a lot as well, that part of the reason the 14th Doctor might have to regenerate is because they give up their life because of her getting her memories back, and I do think that is absolutely a possibility, because as we know, Donna is at least somewhat going to get her memories back in these specials, possibly getting them back fully, which as we know is meant to result in her mind like exploding because she can't contain all of this knowledge. So it would make sense that if she is getting her memories back, that the possible reason as to why the 14th Doctor might have to regenerate, if it's not because of the Toymaker, is because he has to give up his life to save Donna. So I do think that is absolutely a possibility. Okay, and I think this is the last comment that we're going to talk about in this video, but it is quite a long one, so strap in. I believe the Toymaker took advantage of 13's body being highly unstable due to the Master's forced regeneration and used his cosmic powers to revert the Doctor back to his previous face, which damaged the process. I would love it if during the 60th last act, the Doctor has to go through a set of levels and complete each one if he wants to get to the Toymaker, who is the final boss. But along the way, he forces the Doctor to regenerate in a glitch type fashion between 11, 12 or 10 for each one depending on what kind of level it is. They are collectively known as the 14th Doctor, not one single face, but multiple ones at the same time. So for the easy games, the Toymaker uses his powers to change the Doctor into 11, then 12 for the medium levels, and finally back to 10 for the hard levels, each one lasting for 10 minutes or so, which the Doctor manages to pass by using their intelligence and determination before reaching the boss game where the Toymaker is waiting for him. After an intense and heart-stopping showdown between the two foes, the Doctor finally emerges victorious when the Toymaker is banished from his realm and goes into perpetual hibernation, freeing the people of Earth from his mind-controlling Giggle driving them all mad. With the Toymaker now gone, the Doctor can regenerate properly into his next incarnation, who has been trapped in a limbo realm unable to break through due to the damaged regeneration cycle, and the Doctor returns to Donna just in the nick of time before the Toymaker's realm falls apart. Donna says that she knows how the 10th Doctor originally regenerated into 11 because of the meta crisis in her mind. She is able to see it, so when he goes to depart in his TARDIS, Donna stops him and encourages the Doctor to come back to the noble house. He has to regenerate again, but this time he doesn't have to do it alone. He can do it surrounded by his friends, and while he is reluctant to do so, the Doctor eventually agrees, but warns them all to stay back while it happens. After saying his last words, "I'm ready to go now," he finally changes properly into the next Doctor, 15, in front of the shocked members of the noble family, and this leaves us on a cliffhanger for the 2023 Christmas episode. As the regeneration cycle fixes itself and catches up again, we see the Doctor's eyes change in rapid succession through 10, 11, 12, 13, and then finally 15. This redeems 10's heartbreaking original ending when he was all alone to face his demise, and when we first meet 15 properly, some time has passed and he has been in the incarnation for a while off screen when he meets Ruby at Christmas. Okay, so that was a very long comment, but I think there's some really great stuff in here. So first of all, they mention about the game and the levels that the Toymaker set out, which makes sense for how the character is, especially from their first original serial back in classic Doctor Who, as their whole thing was creating these elaborate games that they would rig in their favour so that they don't lose. So it would definitely make sense if Neil Patrick Harris is playing the Toymaker that he would do something like this. They also mention how they think we are going to get glimpses or cameos of the 11th and 12th Doctors, which is something a lot of people have been speculating and hoping for, as they also think the costume is set up in a way so that it works for all three Doctors, which I do kind of see, and obviously with the new Sonic we've got to look at, it is meant to be an amalgamation amalgamation of the previous New Who Doctor's Sonics. So I guess that does kind of hint at that, but it might just be because it's like an anniversary special, so they wanted to celebrate those things. And I personally don't really think we're going to get any glimpses out of the Doctors, but I suppose there is some stuff that we really don't know about, and David Tennant has hinted at things filmed on studio that we haven't seen with people that we don't know are going to be in the specials. So it is absolutely possible, and this way of it being part of the Toymaker's games would be a really good way of implementing those cameos or those actors to come back, and it would be a multi-Doctor story in a way that we've not really seen before, in quite a unique way. So I think that would be really cool. Now, the last thing I want to talk about with this comment is how they think the 14th Doctor will be surrounded by friends during their regeneration, and that they will say the phrase, "I'm ready to go now." Now, personally, I really do think and hope that this is how it will go, because obviously the 10th Doctor was all alone when he regenerated, and his last words were, "I don't want to go."
I don't want to go.
So I just think it makes a lot of sense that if you're going to bring back David Tennant as another incarnation of the Doctor, you get a bit of a resolution to that, and you mirror that moment by having him say he's ready to go while surrounded by a lot of his friends. And I just think that'll be a really nice way for him to go, and a nice resolution to that Doctor, especially with a lot of people being quite annoyed at the 10th Doctor's final line, as it doesn't really set up the next Doctor very nicely for a fan reception. Now, there were some people in the comments and in the replies of this saying that they personally think the Doctor should say "Al-On-Z" before regenerating, because obviously that is the 10th Doctor's iconic catchphrase, and I can see that because, like I said, it's their iconic catchphrase. But for me personally, I just don't think that'll have the same impact. Like I said, I like that the "I'm ready to go now" will mirror the 10th Doctor's final words, but also I think the phrase "Al-On-Z" is going to be mentioned at least a couple times throughout these three specials. We've already heard it in the trailer, and that's seemingly when he's getting into a taxi and not during his regeneration. Al-On-Z! So I think "Al-On-Z" being his final words before he regenerates would only really have an impact if he doesn't say it at all in the previous episodes of the 60th anniversary specials and only says it as his final line. So I don't think it'll be as impactful as "I'm ready to go now" or something along those lines. But yeah, that's all the comments and theories that I want us to talk about with this video. If you have any more theories, put them in the comments below, and I'll possibly make a follow-up video to this. And if for some reason you haven't seen my Everything We Know About the 2023 specials video, you can watch that here. In 2023, for the 60th year of Doctor Who, we will be getting 3 60th anniversary specials and 1 Christmas special. But when will these episodes be released? Okay, so we know that this year we will be getting 3 60th anniversary specials in November, and we also know that we're meant to be getting a 2023 Christmas special, which will be shooting out with first episode as the 15th Doctor. But we don't actually know the exact dates of when these episodes will air yet, but I think I personally might have figured out when they're going to air, and in this video I'm going to explain to you my thought process of how I got there, and why I think these are the days that the specials are going to air, and why this might be a little bit disappointing. So starting with the 60th anniversary specials, obviously we know the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who is the 23rd of November, and this year that date will fall on a Thursday. Now at first you would think it's fairly normal to assume that maybe these episodes are going to air across 3 weeks, as that's fairly normal for Doctor Who. But with the 60th anniversary falling on a Thursday this year, I personally would be surprised if the episodes air across 3 consecutive Thursdays, as I think that's a really weird date for these episodes to air, besides obviously the one that would fall on the anniversary itself, which in this case I wouldn't know if it would maybe be the first episode or the last episode or even possibly the middle episode. But like I said, I personally don't think they're going to air across 3 consecutive Thursdays, because I just think that would be really odd. Now Saturdays are a more normal day for Doctor Who to air, so you'd then think maybe it would air across 3 consecutive Saturdays at some point around the 23rd of November. But obviously, like I said, the 23rd itself doesn't fall on a Saturday, it falls on a Thursday. And so if they do go for the route of it being 3 consecutive Saturdays, do we seriously think that one of the episodes of the 60th anniversary specials isn't going to air on the 23rd itself? And so I personally think that would just be crazy if that is the case. So once again, I don't think it's going to be across 3 consecutive Saturdays. So I think I've figured out what the most likely scenario is going to be for these release dates, and it is a tiny bit disappointing for reasons I'll get into later on. Basically, the way I think these specials are going to work is the first special, The Star Beast, is going to air on Thursday the 23rd of November, the 60th anniversary itself. The second episode, Wild Blue Yonder, is going to air on Friday the 24th of November. And the third and final 60th anniversary special, The Giggle, is going to air on Saturday the 25th of November. Now the reason I think this is the most likely outcome is that it allows for an episode to air on both the anniversary itself and on a Saturday night, which are 2 things that I think Russell T Davies is really going to try and strive for in terms of the the air dates. But like I said, this is a little bit disappointing if it does turn out to be true, because it means we'll only have 24 hours between each episode, which isn't a whole lot of time to speculate and get excited for the next episode, and it doesn't leave a lot of time for people who have heard a little bit about it or the buzz about the episodes to decide that they're going to catch up and jump on before the specials finish airing and without getting it spoiled for them. And as well, on a personal level, it just means it's really unfortunate for me for making videos, as I won't have time to get reviews and speculation videos and stuff like that out in between the episodes, or at least make it very difficult for me. But I do personally have some plans for if this does end up being the case. So like I said, although I personally don't think this is the most optimal outcome, I do think it is the most likely one. But that's when I think the 60th anniversary specials are going to air. What about the Christmas special itself, and will it air on Christmas Day? Okay, but before we get on to when I think the Christmas special is going to air, I think this would be a good time to talk about the Disney Plus deal, as it's obviously relevant to where the specials will air. So obviously, as far as we're aware, from the 60th anniversary to the Christmas special and Series 14 and beyond, Doctor Who is going to be airing on Disney Plus. But we haven't had any confirmation as to when these episodes are going to be available on that service. But I have seen a lot of people saying that they think the episodes are going to be uploaded to Disney Plus as soon as they finish airing in the UK, which I personally think will be the best way to do this, especially now that Australia don't have a way of watching it for free. It'd be even more unfair to make people wait a few weeks or months before they can watch the episodes. So personally, I think that's how it's going to work, and how I hope it does work on Disney Plus. But I've also seen some people speculating that they think Disney Plus is going to introduce some live streaming feature so that people can watch Doctor Who at the same time that it's airing in the UK. But for me personally, I don't think this is likely to happen. If Disney were going to introduce a feature like that on Disney Plus, I'd be surprised if the first project they introduce that in is Doctor Who, as Doctor Who isn't even a Disney property, it's just going to be on Disney Plus. So I'd be very surprised if that is the case. So personally, I don't think that live streaming thing is true, but I do hope that the episodes are uploaded to Disney Plus as soon as they finish airing in the UK, because that would just be helpful to a lot of people, or if they're at least available the next morning. So we haven't had a proper Christmas special since the end of the Moffat era with Twice Upon a Time. We have had some New Year's specials with the Chibnall era and some specials set around the festive period, but they haven't aired on Christmas Day since that episode that I mentioned. Now Russell T Davies has confirmed that we are getting a 2023 Christmas special, but he did clarify that it isn't confirmed to be airing on Christmas Day itself. Now that doesn't mean it isn't going to air on Christmas Day, but I think he just wanted to say that there's a possibility it might not do, as it might not be locked in just yet, or at the time of when he said it anyway. But with Russell T Davies' return, I personally think it is likely that we will see both the return of Christmas specials airing on Christmas Day and the return of Doctor Who airing on Saturdays for the series proper. And to back this up, the first proper trailer we got for the 60th anniversary specials dropped on Christmas Day in absence of there not being a Christmas special. So why would Russell not want us to miss out on a little treat at Christmas when we haven't even had Christmas specials for the past few years? So for me personally, this just really indicates that he at least wants to bring back Christmas specials that air on Christmas Day, and that we will probably get that if the BBC let him. But at the very least, we know the Christmas special is just that, a Christmas special, so it will be Christmas themed and centered around Christmas, as we can tell from some of the set filming. But it's just not confirmed to officially be airing on Christmas Day yet. But like I said, I do personally think that will happen. But let me know what you think. When do you think the 60th anniversary specials are going to air? Do you agree with me, or do you think it will be spread out a lot more? And which days do you think they will air on, if you don't agree with me? And do you think we'll be seeing the return of Christmas specials on Christmas Day? And if you liked this video and you want to see another video from me, watch this one here. So I think I was wrong about the 60th anniversary release dates, but I think that's a good thing. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, last week I released a video where I was speculating on when I think the 2023 specials will be released. If you want to watch that video, I'll put it in the cards here. But to summarize, I basically came to the conclusion that I thought 60th anniversary specials are going to air over 3 consecutive days: Thursday the 23rd of November, Friday the 24th of November, and Saturday the 25th of November, as opposed to airing weekly, as this would allow one of the specials to air on the 60th anniversary itself and on a Saturday, which is something I thought RTD would be trying to do in terms of the release dates. But I now have reason to believe that I could be wrong with that due to some new evidence that we've got recently. And so in this video I'm going to talk about that, and I'm also going to go over some of your theories as to when the 60th anniversary specials might be releasing. So let's just get into it. So the main bit of evidence that has led me to believe that I might be wrong with my initial theory on when the 60th anniversary specials are going to be released is that we have recently seemingly had confirmation as to when the target novelizations for the 60th anniversary specials are going to be released, and it seems like they're going to be released weekly in November rather than them all dropping in January like the initial announcement stated. And I believe this was seen on the website where you can pre-order either the books themselves or the ebooks or maybe both, as their new release dates are listed on that page. So the release dates for the target novelizations for the 60th anniversary specials are Mondays at the end of November and start of December, specifically Monday the 27th of November, Monday the 4th of December, and Monday the 11th of December. So these release dates could suggest that the target novelizations are being released weekly and are likely going to be released the Monday after the episode they're based on airs. So to me, this suggests one of two things. The 60th anniversary specials are either going to be released weekly on Saturdays, that being Saturday the 25th of November, Saturday the 2nd of December, and Saturday the 9th of December, or they could be released on Thursdays due to the 60th anniversary itself being on the Thursday, which would suggest that they would be released on Thursday the 23rd of November, Thursday the 30th of November, and Thursday the 7th of December. Now there is maybe some other possible dates. It could possibly be sticking to Sundays like the Jodie Whittaker era, but I personally think the Saturdays or the Thursdays are the most likely option, and that these target novelizations will be dropping the Monday after they have aired. Now it's still entirely possible that my theory from last week is correct and they will be dropping over 3 consecutive days, and that maybe these are just some placeholder dates for the target novelizations, or that they're just going to be dropping weekly after the 60th anniversary specials have already aired consecutively across 3 days. But I do personally think this new evidence does suggest that the 60th anniversary specials might be dropping weekly, and as I suggested in my last video, I do personally think this will be better than if they dropped over 3 consecutive days, as it gives more time for people to theorize and jump on board through speculation and general people just talking about the episodes and the cliffhangers. But that's the new evidence on when I think the 60th anniversary specials are going to be released. Let's see what you guys think. Okay, so William Bryce says, I don't think they're going to air them side by side, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, because if one or two of them ended on a cliffhanger, then we won't be able to process and theorize, etc. over what just happened, and we would just find out the next day. Yeah, so this is basically what I was saying in the last video and what I've just said before we got to this section of this video. If they do end up airing over 3 consecutive days like I suggested last week, it just won't give us enough time to theorize and process what's been going on, and it'll make it more difficult for people to jump on board after hearing about how good it is, without having the whole thing spoiled for them and them catching up after all of the episodes were already released. And like I said, it will make it more difficult as well for me to make reviews and stuff like that on them, so I personally hope that it isn't over 3 consecutive days. And like I said, this new evidence that I've talked about in this video does suggest that they could be airing weekly, which I think will be more optimal. The BBC have form when airing anniversary stories away from November 23rd. The 3 Doctors aired a whole 10 months before the 10th anniversary in December 72 and January 73. The 5 Doctors aired as part of Children in Need on Friday the 25th of November 1983. Okay, so yeah, this does kind of lend credence to the idea that maybe the specials will air across 3 consecutive Saturdays as opposed to one of them actually airing on Thursday the 23rd itself, as a lot of the previous anniversary specials haven't actually aired on the 23rd itself. I mean, some of these were quite a way off, like the December and January one. I think now, especially since like the 50th anniversary and stuff like that, it is expected to be a lot closer to the date than those would have been. But yeah, that one that aired on Friday the 25th does suggest that the same sort of thing could happen here with Saturday the 25th instead of it airing on Thursday the 23rd. So I do think this does lend credence to that idea that we could be seeing them on Saturdays. And yeah, personally, I am thinking now that Saturdays is probably the most likely option, which is kind of unfortunate because it would be nice for an episode to actually air on the 23rd itself, but maybe they've got some other surprise that we don't know about yet that might air on the 23rd or come out on the 23rd. I say the Star Beast Friday the 4th of November, Wild Blue Yonder Saturday the 15th of November, the Giggle Thursday the 23rd of November. The 60th airs on the 23rd. Plenty of time to theorize, discuss, suspense. There's also nice pacing as well that works best. Yeah, I do agree with the last point that obviously spreading them out over a few weeks does give more time to theorize and discuss, and that it is nice to have them spread out in terms of pacing. But I'm not 100% sold on the dates that have been suggested here, because I'd be surprised if they air them over a number of weeks and also air them on different days each week. One of these is a Friday, one of these is a Saturday, and one of these is a Thursday. And besides obviously the Thursday being the 23rd itself, I do just find that a little bit more unlikely. I think think if they are going to air them weekly, it would probably be the same day each week. So, you know, like I said, it's most likely it's going to be like each Saturday or something like that, or possibly each Thursday. BBC One is unlikely to have hour-long family slots available in weeknights due to the One Show and EastEnders. Reckon Saturdays 18th of November to get people talking about who in the week of the anniversary, 25th of November and 2nd of December, those strictly may dictate an early slot. I hope they don't air on Sundays. Okay, so this is similar to when I suggested the air dates might be, except it seems to be starting a week before what I suggested, which I do think is absolutely a possibility, but obviously with these new Target novelisation release dates, it does suggest that they will be starting a week later than this, if we are led to believe that the novelisations will be coming out the Monday after the episode has aired. But maybe they will want to get the novelisations out a little bit later than that, just to avoid possible leaks or people getting their hands on them early or something like that. So maybe these dates could be accurate, and I'm not 100% sure on what the schedule of BBC One is like at this point, and this person does seem to be aware of what that will be like, so maybe this is quite likely. Okay, so that's my new opinion on when I think the 60th anniversary specials are going to air, and personally this makes me feel a lot better about those release dates, because like I said in my last video, although I thought they were going to air over 3 consecutive days, that isn't what I wanted to happen, and so now I'm fairly confident they are going to air weekly, which is what I wanted in the first place, and I'm fairly certain they're going to air on Saturdays, which is good and makes sense, but obviously it's a little bit unfortunate that we might not get a special actually airing on the 23rd itself, and if that is the case, hopefully we do get something else on that day that's special as well, because otherwise it would just feel a little bit weird. But let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with these possible release dates? Do you disagree? And if so, when do you think these specials are going to air? And if you want to know everything we know about these 60th anniversary specials, you can watch this video here. With no festive special for Doctor Who this year, BBC decided to drop us a trailer 11 months ahead of